19. I keep writing and recording speeches, more desperate attempts to totally alarm and motivate you to rescue us all. But my gasoline and lighter start Zippo without your heart and mind, your stack of dry logs for your roaring fire, not mine. My latest source is CNN, not the usual national public radio. This summer of 2022, as Spain fried in record heat, parched in decades-long earth-wide drought only exceeded 50 million years ago, 41 communities now have not one trickle from their wide-open faucets. Fortunately, a responsible central government is trucking in massive bottled water to everyone. Obviously from places and factories where municipal water still flows. India's 17 city water crises I've already noted. Such lucky crisis response portends no future solution. Please ask yourself how very few summers of disappearing rainfall until 400, 4,000, then 40,000 population centers, not to mention Earth's vast rural stretches, no longer tap any local water supplies. Today, 100% of head-inserted governments assume that when your water is permanently gone, they'll always find other places, big fat surplus, to send you 365 days a year. Now that is sometimes today temporarily true. And our Learless Feeder's other equally brilliant plan projects the 100-year scheme not 1% begun after 60 years of science consensus warning that we need worldwide population and emissions control plus vast CO2 atmosphere scrubbing to conceivably return 21-22's life-supporting rainfall. Their one little impediment? The last human beings will have parched and starved, then hydrogen bomb blasted and frozen to death way back in the 2030s and 40s. Ignoring or inviting humanity's doom is the corrupt, blind, stupid non-policy of almost every life-abandoning, not supporting government on Earth, currently with two very encouraging exceptions. Israel's project is to refill their dying freshwater Sea of Galilee from the Mediterranean with desalination. China, in nationwide catastrophic drought, is jumping also into big desalination projects to replace hopeless cloud seeding efforts and failed water rationing. Any other small rays of hope? Earth's 17 CO2 air scrubbing plants are right now all set to tackle a full 1/1,000,000th of the job our emergency requires. And hey, of 8 billion lost souls, a single nobody nutball promotes the only rescues to save us. So the only real hope then is you, and you. In my audience that you must recruit should be scientists, industrialists, judges, political leaders, foundations, voters, and millions more activists like you, who all must vastly improve on and exceed my pathetic little efforts. First, let's all realize fast that bribery and militarism built doomsday, so only their forced full outlawing and retirement begin our single survival chance and agenda. Besides lifting vital ideas, I speak to destroy crazy notions. For example, pretty please, powers that be, voluntarily give up your insane, violent, corrupt, greedy addictions, plus their legal stranglehold on us all. Meanwhile, why don't we all just leave every gear of your death machine happily, legally humming? Because we fully expect you to suddenly, willingly deign your weapons, war, and pollution's trillions in profits, just to suddenly protect us all instead. Sheer, ethical, newly educated self-reformation. Zero coercion necessary. Now don't laugh. Eggheads fill libraries with this exact garbage. Forget new critical legal control. Just slowly wise up and honey up the jackals. Nothing urgent. We have all the time in the world. Nope. All of fully fast-doomed humanity has exactly only one rescue, one chance, one agent, one hero. You make life law now. You only endure my death or rescue of humanity speeches, mostly about your family's horrific terminal danger, to act on, not ignore my point. Our kind, voluntary, patient, public inspiration is important indeed. But most of your efforts must legally force massive constitutional, court, government, and industrial action. Now, and for every dwindling tomorrow, we gotta kick ass and take names. Every day after I finally do shut up, that exploding storm of Holocaust news will keep telling you to get desperate, get mad, and, as President John Kennedy exhorted us, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Go ahead, all you passive and faint-hearted. Get your affairs in order. Just one question. For who? All 10,000 years of savage patriarchy, every humanist forgot our talents, only crying, God help us all! Well, he didn't. He can't. Why not? He'll tell you, if you'll excuse my God growl. To defeat your greatest temptations, worst dangers, most awful evils, I had to pour all my most magnificent power, goodness, and talents into my greatest creation, plus the 2 hands and physical, skillful, technical power, energy, and the 100,000 loud world-circling words I don't have. Who's my better? You. Go. Nearly all of Spain is running out of water. The Thames and Rhine rivers are drying up. France's wildfires are 20 times worse than last year's. Italy's Po River Valley farms are nearly 80% destroyed this summer. All of England and Europe are in severe drought. Wildfires rage across most of Europe. California's water supply is in massive jeopardy. My own Central Texas Lake Travis Reservoir is down to 40% level. Worldwide CO2 emissions continue to explode ever higher stratosphere levels. No legal, national, or international authority exists to stop India and China from building new CO2 spewing, coal-burning power plants at breakneck speed. Every year is the hottest in history. Droughts, wildfires, and forest and farm destruction get far worse every year. My every law and industrial plan, obviously necessary 50 years ago, might occur to our idiot leaders after 5 more years of rocket-accelerating world catastrophe. But then, Exactly as the 1966 Club of Rome predicted, humanity's points of no return, no complex, protracted rescues possible, will torture and slaughter us by the billions. Whatever anyone and everyone tries, just totally too late. Now, do you understand why your full action today and tomorrow, not other blind, corrupted, apathetic fools' belated help later, is your family's only chance? Within a tiny number of years after you hear my speech, humanity's doom will irreversibly rocket, or your rescue of most of us will magnificently accelerate. Let's first review the likely terrible suffering and death storm if you do nothing to stop it. Years 25 to 35 of all Earth's plunging precipitation, except brief big floods, without your maximum intervention, will skyrocket from billions now scrounging for drinking water to billions dying of thirst and hunger. Unended politician bribery will prevent even 1% of national budget's devotion to our only defenses. Desalinated water for survival, atmosphere CO2 removal, flood collection, treatment and delivery, greenhouse emission maximum reduction, and huge CO2 sequestration, regenerative farming. For lack of the border defenses only, corrupt swords into humanity rescuing plowshares treaty, conventional invasion warfare to steal dwindling water and food, among other crazier, more evil reasons, will bankrupt much of the world economy and sabotage restraint and control of nuclear arsenals. Before 2030, the average earthling in failed local, national, and world economies could be facing death from hunger, thirst, and extreme poverty. Certainly, let's pray that I'm wrong about this horrific speed and severity. If I'm not, about today's enormously accelerating reality of fast accelerating drought causing huge increases in water and food shortages every single year. Again, your family could soon gaze from windows of a house empty of water and food to suddenly see and indeed reconcile those sudden fireballs and mushroom clouds as simply your merciful, rather quicker end to suffering beyond all hope anyway. Just crazy doomsday Steve shrieking, "The sky is falling!" No, just ask those thousands of astronomers. If I'm not simply describing exactly what happened to the widely estimated million advanced alien civilizations, now only signaling their charred, frozen silence to our giant radio telescope ears. How dare I end a speech of fabulous, beautiful, if critical reform by sneering that our worst case scenario could only drag out a decade or two longer, when all saving heroics from you and I could only begin and persist from our greatest, most heavenly hopes for a deliberately crafted new world, rising like a phoenix from the agony and flames of our dying civilization. Created by the desperate, dogged, muscular passion of my early listeners. Among the billions of activists and voters and family guardians we'll soon need, everyone exploded from the beginning. None other than you, love. Yes, a billion could die as we fall short of our dreams of saving us all. A tragedy to drive the tough and courageous to rescue the rest of us. explode my speech viral, then write 1,000 shorter, better ones. Foundations and activists take our national lawsuits for public campaign finance and enforcement of our existing Ban the Bomb and Overkill Armies treaty worldwide. Simultaneously demand that fair elected representatives and executives recruit 50, 100, then all 195 nations into our new border defenses only, swords into plowshares treaty that will directly drive national appropriations for the vast trillions essential for literally thousands of freshwater and survivable atmosphere factories. Very few years of our most explosive political revolution must also quickly get water to every agrarian and inhabited square mile. Unfortunately, not fully, totally possible in that eye blink of time, while thirst, hunger, and atmosphere storms of death increase. Yet try ever harder we must. Our window of economic, tax-based opportunity for this World Manhattan Project for loving survival, not the thoroughly hateful suffering from resource and nuclear extinction. This last chance window will be desperately narrow, slamming shut as soon as starvation and thirst deaths mount to fully cripple national and world economies below required financial and industrial rescue power. Only the gutsiest, wisest government representatives, executives, and judges' heaviest labors driven by you will possibly gear up enough flood capturing, desalination, crop irrigation, and human water supply to save billions. Indeed, mounting disasters for several decades may be our sadder but wiser emergency teachers for ever-expanding hyperspeed rescue. International law, national programs, local projects and victories, and industrial expansion must all magnify each other. World population loss from great birth control efforts and sadly significant mass deaths could extend life-supporting water, food, and economic resources for the remainder. International and national law, not volunteer accords, must speed economically, not just environmentally beneficial green energy. Draconian water conservation will be attempted to keep people, if not our critical crops, alive. But such rationing will never be 1,000th of the only real answers. Desalinate salt water and capture floodwater as fast as we lose ever more rain many decades before emission reversal and CO2 air scrubbing can restore it. Ask leaders refusing this program that just before all humanity dies of thirst, you will give away your own dwindling bottled water stashes to the even more helpless, right? Not only will our best efforts prevent all possible fatalities, but nations' first uncorrupted leaders and we masses of citizen activists will commence flowering every human right and condition rather universally abused during 10 millenniums of top-dog military dictatorship savagery. Simply, incredibly surmounting these next few years and decades of utterly unsurvivable, if ignored, emergencies, converting full extinction to tragedy merely comparable to history's roughest ordeals, will enable us to create a fabulous political, ethical, industrial, and environmental heaven, simply unstoppable once we have instituted true human family leadership solely capable of achieving the impossible. Glorious, easy breathing of comfortable air, plenty of water and food for all, peace without the attack weapons and armies to break it, and clear and easy by comparison work on every other medical, family, and human right and condition, creating humanity's first and permanent golden age of truly loving, caring, happy civilization. Exactly as did the one of 10,000 alien worlds who banned their bribes, bombs, and fossil fuels and crashed at Roswell trying to inspire us. Now, don't let our crappy odds or just one pathetic nobody punk with the plan discourage you because another, just presently inactive, isolated person is about to explode into humanity's and their own needy family's ultimate defender and infinite opportunity. Who dat? FYI, I only got hooked on my favorite two-word question after seeing it on the wall of my favorite Cajun catfish joint. Well, you're finally a single question and answer away from shutting me up. When history's toughest, most urgent job absolutely has to be done fully, massively, exactly right, and fast as hell too, who's gotta do it? Other clowns you delegate, punt, and defer to? Trust them with your family's lives? Same as 10,000 years of leaving the driving to the ambitious, greedy, corrupt, and homicidal? Who's gotta infect and spread faster than coronavirus? Damn right, eventually 1 billion. Except that since terror wars and pollution exploded 100 years ago, not one soul has banged down the first domino of our love and live chain. Who's always been missing? The one we can't live without. Me? Shit, so far I'm all just talk and no action. Give God his due. He kept us loving, not killing for 2 million years. But since the warlords fired our matriarchs 10,000 years ago, he's been helpless. Now just one, doing only their very best, decides the fate of the earth and your family upon it. You, baby! And why do I keep coming back at you 24 hours after wrapping up? Because every new death news day, humanity rockets closer to extinction, while nobody except you and I have a clue what to do. Today's horror, Lakes Mead and Powell, always fed by Colorado River Basin snow and rain, will soon go too low to pump a drop to 40 million Westerners. Go to level 2 conservation, announce water managers. Slash farm irrigation's 80% share to keep our faucets running. Next on the chopping block, every thirsty manufacturing plant. Then we'll briefly enjoy our 8 glasses a day without food or an economy. And just as briefly, the richest 5% may still afford 3 meals a day from the paucity of American crops still alive. Not my worst, but your best case scenario. Because 90% conservation of soon to approach zero water will still parch most all of us just as dead, only a few tiny ticks later. This 1000th NPR, The World Ends Now report, ended with, "This southwestern water disappearance crisis will quickly explode nationwide." Their numerous worldwide surveys, most and worst suddenly this summer, detail from scores of countries today's thirsty hordes desperately bottle-filling from dwindling public taps. Only when the thousands in line ahead of you don't run those few spigots dry, of course. Now shamble home again to your own faucet, spitting dust. And what do governments we form to conduct our financial and technical rescues beyond individual defense have planned? Drill fast into precipitously dropping water tables. Rob Peter for Paul's last drink of water. But since we don't, they certainly don't demand trillions to condense hot ocean steam and also pipe temporarily river-raging floodwater to reverse the death of every lake and forest that could kill us all in a few years or quintuple stratosphere CO2 to end rain for millennia. Not one of 100,000 leaders dare admit that they allowed, exacerbated, and refused to counter death clearly staging decades ago, lest shocked voters fire everyone in absolute horror and disgust. Their same incompetent mega drought in action for one more eye blink very likely kills billions until their conventional to nuclear bomb machine crazy anarchy explodes fire and ice exactly like the million dumbass 100% war, 0% ethical leadership alien suicides dead gone from our radio listening dish ears. No, our 10,000 years corrupted and asleep at the wheel leaders are not, on their own, about to wake up, learn, care, and jump. Only you and I, family warriors all, must start and keep the ball rolling. Yesterday, today, tomorrow. Not with my hopelessly amateur master plan, but your professional, legal, industrial, political genius in world action. I dumped my initial world record 23-word book title, but damned if it didn't come back like a bad penny. Only your fight for humanity's rescue laws prevents your family's suffering and death from nuclear winter or global warming's vanishing water and food.